I'm gonna drop one more image in my PowerPoint here, and then we will get going. I was having some trouble with Excel charts this afternoon, and I finally got it to work. All right. Ah, there we go. Okay. Um, well, thank you everybody for joining us this evening, this afternoon, wherever you're at. We are going to chat a little bit about data and statistics. I put together some stuff from 2025. This is as of, I think I got these reports February 17th. So I believe we probably still have some puppies whelped in 2025 that were not registered yet as of February, but we do have, I believe, complete test data for the 2025 year that we added. So yeah, we were just gonna go through some of that and take a look at it. I am going to share my screen for those of you that are on a device that you can do screen share on, or that you can see my screen. Um, there's that. Okay. And let's get rid of that. All right. So, I have the chat open, so if anybody, has any questions or, wants to say anything, you can use the chat. You can raise your hand. Just some housekeeping and Zoom basics. I think everybody on here so far has a name on there, so that's good. So we know who you are. You can use the chat to ask questions, or you can raise your hand if you'd like to speak. The little hand raise button is usually down in the bottom menu. Yeah, it's down in the bottom menu. So what happens if somebody says raise their hand, you get the little hand doodad there. So we'll be looking out for that. And then also keep yourself on mute when not speaking in order to minimize background noise. So there we go. Some disclaimer and methodology here for what we pull together with the data. All of this information is derived from the NAVDA registry and testing database. So about once a year, I either go in and request reports or pull reports, or I request reports that I need that I can't get on the online system from NAVDA, and then take those and kind of reformat them so that they fit into the larger database that I've created over the years. The information for 2025 was taken as of February 16th of 2026, so the 2025 registry numbers may not be complete because some litters and dogs born in 2025 probably, may or might not be registered yet. So we're probably missing a few dogs there, and so when we get 2026, 2025 will obviously be more complete. As with any data, there is an element of human error. So if you see an error, please bring it to my attention so that I can go in and fix it. Or if, this doesn't really, other than some high producing breeder names, we really don't have any specific dog information in here. This is all very kind of high level generalized reporting. Okay, so we're going to start with the registry and just kind of look at estimated litters produced. So when I say estimated, what I do is I take that registry, and I count a litter for every sire and dam and whelp date combination. So if there's that individual combination, that's how I count litters. So as long as at least one puppy from every litter produced gets registered with NAVDA, we can count that litter. Now, as far as puppies produced in total, it's a much less complete number, because some breeders just register the litter and don't actually register all the puppies in the litter, or they might use another registry. So maybe only 1 or 2 dogs might get registered in NAPS for like testing purposes. So we're just going with litters at this point. So yeah, you can see here in, table format and chart format. Obviously, we have a really low number for 2025 here, and that's probably going to go up. But as far as in the last, 5-10 years, it looks like our peak year was definitely 2021 for litters produced. So, if you start, and I grouped years until 2010, but we were still, 40-ish litters in the early 2010s, and then we kind of started to grow. And then you saw popularity really kind of explode around 2016, 2018 timeframe. And then it looks like we peaked in 2021. You've got those COVID years in there. And then now we're starting to come down a little bit. We've been gradually decreasing the number of litters produced each year for about the last, looks like 5 years. So we'll see how that trend continues. And got it in bar chart format over here for, depending on how people like to look at things. So you can kind of see those trends. Any questions about that? I'll just ask with each slide, if anybody has any questions or talking points. So any questions with this number of litters produced? All right, great. So the highest number of litters produced by breeder for the last 5 years and the last 10 years. I thought it would be interesting to show, as a percentage of the total number of litters produced in a year, who our highest, I guess most prolific breeders are, if you will. So in the last 5 years, from 2021 to 2025, and again, let's remember this 2025 data is a little bit incomplete. We've got Steve Bowman with Bowman Kennels at 40 in the last 5 years. Scott Kosan with Rock Creek at 39. Bob Ferris with Cedar Woods at 37. So those guys comprise 15%, 5% each, but 15% of the total litters that I have as 739. So it's a low percentage of the total litters produced, but these are our top. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So with the last 5 years of litters, I pulled anything greater than 10. So any breeder that produced more than 10 litters in the last 5 years. So that's what the 5-year list consists of. So of those 11 breeders, they comprise 34% of the total of 379 or 739, litters produced in the last 5 years. So you can kind of see that. And then I expanded it out. This should actually be 10 years. So this is actually, I did the, oh, that's right. I'm not in edit mode. Anyways, this should be 2016 to 2025. So the number of litters produced in the last 10 years, you've got Bob Ferris and Scott Kosan on top with 7%. And our total litters for those 10 years is 1,351. So you've got Bob and Scott, and then you've got, now this is interesting. So Steve Bowman is at 42 litters. So he just started breeding, I'm going to say 6 years ago, because from the 5-year and the 10-year, he went from 40 to 42. So 42 total litters because he's a newer breeder. But in the last 5 years, he's produced all but, 2 of his total number of litters. And he's third still in the 10-year breeders. So I thought that was really interesting. And then you've got Foothills, Pine Ridge, Dakota Sky, and Rip Snorter, and DreamWorks squeaking in the 30s. For the 10-year numbers, I took anything over 20 litters produced. I dropped I didn't take anything below 20 litters. And then you've got Bear River Clan, Paladin, North Santiam, Windy Sage, High Life, and Oxbow, to round those out. So those breeders, how many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 14. So 14 breeders in the last 10 years make up 39% of the litters produced. So I just thought that would be an interesting statistic to kind of show people like who our big producers are. I could have gone into much more detail about, how many breeders we had that produced 5 or less litters and all that, but we're going to try to start getting some of this stuff on the database um, in the future so that, we can kind of have that data available when people want to go look at it, but we're still kind of working on that. So, any questions about this slide and our top producing breeders out there? Or comments? Okay. All right, number of breeders per year. So this is total breeders. So in any given year, how many breeders are producing puppies? So in 2025, we had 55 breeders producing 93 litters. Again, I think that number is going to go up. 2024, we had 83 breeders producing 127 litters, 88 and 23, but our peak in 2021 again is that 99 breeders who produced 193 litters. So I think you're kind of on average there about 2 litters per breeder, but obviously that's, very different. And then this is just more of a trend line, your litters to breeders, so that you can kind of see that the trend for both is largely the same. They really do kind of track each other. So just thought that was interesting to throw out there. Again, we did a lot of growth from 2010 to 2020, and then that peak in 2021, and now it looks like we're kind of on the downhill slide of that for the last 5 years, kind of producing fewer litters. We've got fewer breeders, fewer active breeders, I guess I should say. Any questions on that or comments? Okay.
Hey, Alicia, I had a question.
Yes.
Do you know,
Sure.
is that trend, just within poodle pointers or the sporting breeds overall?
Just within poodle pointers that I know of. I don't know any. I only cover poodle pointers. So, yeah. Anybody else? Okay. Okay, and then the question of black versus brown. So this is just to kind of highlight or show that we're still sitting right around 11% of black poodle pointers over the last, 15 years. That it had been growing. You were growing clear up until 2024 with 14%. And now in 2025, we're at 12, but again, that number is going to change probably. So we may see that jump up above 14%, or we may see it, decreasing with the trend of, not as many litters being produced. But yeah, we've kind of been hanging out in that largely in the I'd say 10 to 13% range other than 2024. So, but on a whole, we're looking at 11%, black to total. So, I think everybody says the European requirement is that the breed has to have less than 10%, but I don't I don't know for sure about that. But I think we're hanging out at, the low teens at least, so that's good. All right. And this was actually supposed to be from the test database, so we're gonna look at testing data. I don't have charts for a lot of these because I was having some trouble with my Excel charts. So some of these have charts, some do not. But so test years and number of dogs tested. Obviously, in 2025, we went from the UPT to the GDT, and it looks like we had different peaks. So our peak for NA looks like it was in 2022, which makes sense because 2021 was our high producing year. So you would be seeing those puppies from 2021 testing in NA. And I guess really the utility peak in 2023 makes sense because again, you're looking at your 2-year-old dogs from 2021, which was that high producing year. So that's 2023, those 2-year-old dogs are, going to start testing, and then some of them obviously testing in 2024 as well. Um, so yeah, it looks like our high test years overall, 661 dogs tested in 2022, 624 tested in 23. And I mean, compared to 2010 or 2010 with 138 dogs total tested, and now we're, in the 5 and 600 range. We've, seen a lot of growth there, and it's nice to see that the poodle pointers and people are testing their dogs increasingly year over year. So that's a nice trend to see. Um, and I also thought it was interesting since 2010, 128 individual poodle pointers have tested in UPT, but just in 2025 we've got 47 in the gun dog test. So I think, you're seeing a lot more people testing in the gun dog test than tested in UPT. So I think that's very good as well. It seems like they've created a good middle ground test that people are taking advantage of when they didn't generally take advantage of the UPT test before. So I think that's good. Any question about dogs tested by testing year? Okay. All right, natural ability. So, um, yeah, this is just individual dogs tested. So the caveat on this one is, um, the these statistics, trying to figure out how to say this. So these statistics, if a dog tested twice in the same year, that dog is only going to be tested on it, or it's only going to be counted on its max score. So if Odin tested twice in utility in 2025 and he got a 189 and a 204, we're going to take that 204. So that's what comprises, that's why it's average of max score. So, and individual dogs tested. So you can see for 2025 in natural ability, we had 317 dogs tested, but the difference here for total in the 292 is we probably had, that difference is the number of dogs that probably tested twice in NA. Because I believe this chart does not, um, if a dog tested more than once, it's counted twice in this chart. So that's just something to be aware of. I'm working on fixing that, but yeah, so that's why there's a difference here. Um, so we're kind of hanging out at that 104 average overall. We've had a couple high years to, oh, sorry. 2019 we had 205 average, and also 2011 we had 205 average, but very different on the number of dogs tested, almost 3 times as many tested in 2019 that tested in 2011. Also, you had 2013 with a 105 average, but generally we're sitting about 104, 104.5, which I think is good for the poodle pointer. I mean, especially seeing, even the different numbers of dogs tested per year as they grow, you might see that average go down, but it's not. It's staying the same, which means, people are training their dogs well. We've got good solid dogs testing, and we're continuing to have high performers. Um, the chart just, so the orange bars are the number of dogs tested each year. So we've got 2021, our high of 400 or 2022, our high of 457 dogs tested. And that year we had an average of, it was our lowest average, so 102.8. So yeah, and then the blue line is the average test score of the dogs tested. So, any questions on natural ability or comments? Okay. UPT and gun dog test. No chart for this one, but not very many dogs tested. We had So one dog, I'm guessing, because we had 47 total in the last slide, so one dog probably tested twice. So that dropped it to 46. But again, 46 dogs tested in the gun dog test, whereas, your highest year for UPT was 29 in 2023. And I know the test scores are a little bit different, but our average for the gun dog test was 135. And then our average highest for the UPT looks like it was, well, one dog, 181, but you got six dogs at 167. Um, so yeah, an overall average of the 140, I'm gonna call it 146 out of 171 dogs tested. So not bad for UPT or GDT. I'm very curious to see what we get for this in the years going forward if more people continue to do the gun dog test. So that'll be this. I think this will become a much more relevant statistic in the future than it has been in the past. So that's good. Any questions on that? Comments? Oh yeah. Utility. Um. So yeah, 95 in 2025 with an average of 173. A little bit low so far, but again, we're going to see that number go up, I believe. 2024, we saw 112 dogs tested with an average of 181, 182. Um, and then 2023, you had that average of 183. And then, it's interesting in the years below that, the years, really pretty much from 2027 to 2022, you're in the 170s with a fewer number of dogs tested, but now you're getting more dogs tested and you're getting a higher average score in UT. I think that's really interesting. I think that's a data point to watch if we continue to see dogs, not only more dogs being tested in utility, but also more dogs doing better in utility. So I was really kind of encouraged by that and interested in that. So yeah, thought that was a interesting point, interesting trend. Hopefully it continues. Any questions on utility? And overall, since 2010 in utility, we're still sitting right around the 180 mark in average maximum score. So I think that's good. Um, so yeah. Okay. Invitational. Oh, no chart for this one, but um okay, so test year, individual dogs tested is the first column. Dogs passed versus no pass, and then your average passing score, your average no pass score, and then your total average score. So, in 2024, your really good year, really great year for poodle pointers. We had 24 dogs go and 16 of them passed. Only 8 didn't pass. And we still had an average score of over 180. So really, really impressive, I think, for the poodle pointer. 2024, we were kind of the opposite of that. We had more dogs not pass than passed, but we still had a high average score, which I thought was interesting. 2023, we only had 12 dogs test, but the majority of them passed. 9 of them passed. So again, pretty impressive there. And I think we're seeing a good trend in our average scores as well. They're kind of in the last 5 years, they're kind of continuing to stay in those 80s or 180 ranges. And hopefully we'll be seeing more poodle pointers passing again in the future. Um, so just kind of some interesting trends there, and a lot more poodle pointers going to the invitational than have gone in the past. For the last since 2021, we've had over 10 dogs go every year, whereas in the years before that, we didn't have that many dogs go. So, more poodle pointers I don't know if more poodle pointers are qualifying or if it's just more people taking them, but I think in general, I would say, I would guess it's more poodle pointers qualifying. So kind of a nice trend there. That's really pretty much all I put together tonight. Just kind of some overall general statistical information. I'd be happy to send this PowerPoint to anybody that wants it. Happy to try to put together some additional statistics if anybody has anything they're curious about. I can pretty much do just about anything with the testing database, the registry, that kind of thing. I didn't do coat information on this run because that gets a little bit complicated. Um, and like I said, we're going to try to start putting more of this on the website in the future so that it's just at your fingertips and you can go look at it whenever. Um, but yeah, so anybody have any discussion? Anyone they want to or anyone want to chat about anything? It doesn't have to be about statistics. I mean, we have these meetings for you guys so that, current events, whatever. If people have questions or want to chat about things, that's kind of what we're here for. So,
Alicia, do you know dogs are how many poodle pointers are qualified for this year's invitational?
let me take a look.
Or does anybody on here know? I mean, I know there's not nearly as many as the past 2 years
Um,
in
all right.
NAB overall.
Let's see. Test year, let's go to 2025 only. And let's go to utility only and prize one only. That gets us to 30 dogs got prize one utility scores in 2025. Now, obviously Boone's Farm figured it out, probably requalified but passed in 2025, so but yeah, uh 30 dogs got utility prize ones in 2025, so that's really pretty awesome. um I am curious, since you asked the question though, Matt, how many actually had qualified? We had 24 go in 2024. How many were actually qualified? 36 were prize one utility scores in 2024. So, about, what is that? A little over half. No, yeah, over half went. So that's good. And I don't know if any of these were duplicates. I didn't really look at that. Doesn't look like it. Except maybe, no, that's two different dogs. So, any other questions, comments, topics?
Sure. Dave Johnston here. I have
Yeah,
two short questions. By the way,
sure.
thanks a lot, Alicia. This is really interesting.
Yeah, great.
I
I'm
have
glad you're enjoying it.
I have a 4-year-old dog from Snorter and Zulu, and
Awesome.
he's doing great. But two questions. First of all, I'm surprised to see the trend of total uh, litters going down, or whatever that trend was. It peaked in 2022 and is starting to go down in the Northeast.
Mm-hmm.
Anecdotally, we're seeing way more poodle pointers than we've ever seen. So I was surprised to see that. And my other question is on the natural ability test. There's a section on the coats,
Uh-huh.
and I'm just wondering if it's my imagination or if the breeders are seeing this too. That I'm seeing more and more dogs, poodle pointers, with short, non-dense, wiry, coats, like more like slicks, but they still have furnishing, but they're not as wiry as I have recalled in the past. And I'm wondering if that's my imagination or if it's a fact.
Okay. Can you see my screen share?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is what I did not put together tonight because there's a lot going
Oh, I
on.
get it. Yeah.
But really, we did this last year, I think, and overall, what we found was the number, because you hear that everybody. I'm trying to find. Yeah, we have no furnishings. I did teeth and bite as well. Because you do tend to, excuse me, you do tend to hear a lot of people going, oh, well, I'm seeing more and more bad coats. I'm seeing more and more bad coats. And so last year, I kind of said, well, are we really seeing more and more bad coats?
And by
And
the way, I'm not saying it's bad. It's just a change. But anyway, go ahead.
right.
Yeah.
But open, see, and the thing is you're talking about a tight coat with furnishings, but you also mentioned an open coat, and all we have to really go on with the NAVDA database is how those coats are judged. So
Dense
what I
harsh.
did, if you can see this, I can try to
Yeah.
enlarge a little bit here. Um, I took by test year the number of dogs, and this doesn't include 2025 because I didn't get that far. The number of dogs that were judged to have these different coat variations. So, the bulk of your dogs are always going to be the medium dense, medium harsh. And then as a percentage of total, what do we have that's really open soft or just open in general? And then are we seeing an increase in dense coats or harsh coats? Well, not really in dense harsh, but we have a few dogs every year, but as a percentage, like your open soft is less than 2%. And
Yep.
it kind of has been, it might be growing a little bit because you can see for a long time there was less than, for several years there was less than 2% other than this couple of outliers. And then all of a sudden you're trending up in the over 1% of open soft. So maybe you're seeing a trend start there, but it's going to take a few years to kind of, suss that out and see if it's actually a trend or if it was just those years. Do you know what I mean?
Yep. This is great. Thanks so much. So it's pretty much my imagination is what I'm hearing, but
Well, I
it's
mean,
good.
and I think it depends. I think it depends on the lines. I think it depends on, a lot of things. Plus, people, you're also starting to see, I think, and please somebody jump in if you disagree or have a comment on it. I think you're starting to see a lot more people gravitate to those shorter, tighter coated dogs that still have furnishings. They don't want the long, soft coat that you used to see a lot more. So breeders are accommodating that, and they're trying to breed dogs with shorter coats. And I would absolutely appreciate anybody else's input if they want to jump in.
Yeah, Jeff, what's your view on this?
That was a question for me.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. As a breeder.
Well, I guess you're saying anecdotally, whatever. It's what you're seeing, not what the judges are saying, because I don't believe very much of what the judges record. Um, I've seen judges judge a dog one day and say it's harsh and dense, and the next time it's medium harsh, medium dense, and medium harsh, medium dense is what they always go to, just because it's easy and they don't have to think about it. I think, or maybe it's because they just don't know the difference. I've heard all kinds of different theories on how they judge harshness, um, but I do know that I tend to like the shorter body coats, and not I don't mean short hair short, but I tend to stay away from the long fluffy stuff. And I know Calvin's big on coat, and he stays away from that, and I suspect maybe some of the others do too. The other thing is we're able to use genetics now with the big F and little f type thing, so we can kind of predict what we're going to get, or breed so that we can get what we want, and that helps a lot. That may be the biggest factor in more of the shorter coats and not the long, harsh ones or the soft ones. But I don't know. That's my thinking, but I never thought about it too deeply. So, what it's worth.
Thanks.
All right. Anybody else have any questions or comments or things they want to chat about? All right. Well, this is I mean that's kind of where we're at right now. I am gonna put this recording on our YouTube channel. For those of you that are unaware or have not seen it, we do have a YouTube channel. I believe you can just go search Lone Pine Poodle Pointers. North American Poodle Pointer Society on YouTube, and you should be able, it should pop up and you can subscribe to it. Otherwise, it is linked from our newsletter as well. So you can go to the last newsletter if you have it and get there from the link. But yeah, hopefully this was useful to everyone. We're going to try to revisit this about once a year. Again, we are going to try to start putting some of this stuff on the website as well so that, you know, it's available information, probably a little bit more in depth if we can as well. So yeah, and if you ever have any questions or if, you know, anything ever pops into your mind that's, oh, I wonder about this aspect of the breed, you know, by all means, shoot me an email, let me know. I'm always interested in different ways we can look at the data and different you know, conclusions or assumptions that we can draw from it. It's just always been kind of interest to me. So other than that, I won't keep you guys. Thanks for joining us. Like I said, I hope this was informative and helpful, and hope to hear from you guys again soon and let you get back to your night.
Thanks, Alicia, for putting all that together.
Yeah, no problem. You guys take care and have a good night.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Felicia. Good night.
Good night.